Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Yeah, welcome one, welcome all, ladies and gentlemen, to the Lion Villain Report. I am your host, Russell Wayne, the host with the most right here, and we are broadcasting live right now into the Lions Villain Squad Facebook page with over 53,000 villains sitting right there. Make sure that you go over and follow, like, and share the page right there. We're also broadcasting live into the Lion Villain Squad YouTube page where you can also subscribe right there. Thank you for your support. Thank you to Joe Chap and the boys for allowing us to broadcast into the Detroit Lions News podcast page right there with over 77,000 Lion fans on there. We appreciate you in that way. And it is faith, family, and then football right here. We use football to spend time with our families and to create memories. We don't let football use us. Join the conversation. Like on any of these pages, we post constantly on here. It's all about Detroit Lions, NFC North, any of the football heads out there. Join the conversation. Let your voice be heard about your bad opinions about football right here. And this show, as always, is brought to you by the affiliate marketing partners of NFL Shop. You can use our code to get 25% off of that sweet looking Jahmyr Gibbs black jersey sitting right there. And also, my wife, we have found finally a thing for our stars. The Facebook stars. We've been wondering what we could use the Facebook stars for. My wife is an advocate for autism awareness because I have a son that is 5 years old that is an autistic child right here. And she has all kinds of awesome resources for parents that have kids with special needs. So if you do put the stars comments onto our page, just know that 100% of that is going to go to support her in autism awareness. And it isn't just autism awareness, it's community awareness too. She knows all kinds of programs that she posts out onto her page for people that are low income, roofs, house, furnace program. She knows how to help people get out of jams. So kudos to her on that. That's my wife right there. You can follow that link right there, right to her page. It's just her own personal page, but she's an advocate for autism awareness. And this is Fantasy Football Friday. And I don't get too much into the fantasy football as far as, talking about it on a show, but I do want to, go through some of the guys that were out there, maybe some of the guys that were out there in the waiver wire. And if you're out there and you play fantasy football, Put a Y for yes and an N for no, so I know that I'm not wasting everybody's time on here for the fantasy football. Broski, do you play fantasy football? That's what I want to know. So, because I'm looking through here on my Yahoo, and it looks like we got some injuries, and there's some people that are available out on the waiver wire. I mean, I see some of the people. Really? Okay. Jay Willie. JMO had 5 catches. I can't believe he's on this on my fantasy football. He's sitting there on the waiver wire. I'm sorry I stopped there for a second, but I had to go pick up Jameson Williams real fast on on my fantasy football team because somebody had dropped him. I can't believe that, but not in my good leagues though. So let's get into the comments right here. I wanted to say hello to everybody. Hello to Henry Gray in the morning. Thank you for being there. Thank you for being there even before the YouTube promo drops. Davey was there before the YouTube promo drop, and so is Fred Peterson right there. Yeah. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Now, I'm not doing this Canva thing anymore. I keep on trying to do the copyright thing. It does frustrate me a lot because I do pay for Canva, and I love being able to design the stuff that goes out onto the page on Canva, but they're not very good when it comes to using the copyrighted music because I'm supposed to be able to use that opportunity song. And that's why Beavis and Butthead had to come in and pinch hit for me. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah. So I apologize for that, but you know what? We're going to have some fun with it anyway. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Dwayne Keene in the house. Let's go Tigers. All right. Russ, the host with the most. I'm Broski with the Moski. That's a really nice of you and your wife to do that. Thank you, Broski. Yes. Good morning, villains from Elise. Let's get Elise's promo in there. Elise is one of our super villains, and she comes on here. She supports this show so much. We're hoping to see her at that Tennessee Titans game, maybe, if we can get our butts to that game right there. But follow that QR code. You can go and check out some of Elise's stuff. She does put stuff on our page, too, that has to do with the Lions, but she's got all kinds of good stuff out there. But thank you, Elise, for supporting us. No, we don't have a lot of fantasy football people in here. Broski says that he bets games. No, I don't mess with fantasy. And you know what? I know I called it the fantasy football, but if you guys have no use for it today, I don't have to hit it today. I mean, I'll say this, that there are some guys that are available. If you have any questions in regards to fantasy, like, you know, who should I start? Who should I sit? Feel free to throw them in there because Friday is going to be the day that we do that, if we do that. But we don't have to hit that because we do have some games that are going on today, or not today, but this weekend, you know, including the Bears versus the Colts. And then you have the Tennessee Titans and the Green Bay Packers going at it. And then you got CJ Stroud and the Texans taking on the Minnesota Vikings. And we can talk about that stuff. We can talk about the Lions going down and facing Arizona. And that's a big road game for the Lions. And I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's a get-right game for the Lions. I picked 2 blowouts, and there were 2 close games. We're 1-1 when it comes with the Lions. So, I mean, I like where the Lions, I think the Lions are at right now, at 1-1. I'm not going to overreact on a loss. I mean, it's so funny because Broski is our resident our bear troll in here, and he does throw some stuff up, but there's nothing really worse than the Lion fans that overreact. You know, we're so roller coaster when it comes with our team. And it's like when 2 NFL teams play against each other, regardless of how much trash that we talk and all this stuff, you can talk all the trash that you want, but all of these teams are good. They're such a good parity. Mark Schmidt and I were talking about this yesterday on the show. It's like they have done such a good job with the NFL since the rookie salary cap comes in, to where a team can be relatively bad, and in 2 or 3 years you can rip that team apart from the studs and be able to put a competitive team out there in a short period of time. And I do want to put a shout out to the Huddle Sports Network. I thought that we were done on there, but it appears that we are able to go live in there right now. I don't know what was going on with that, but thank you to the Huddle Sports Network. That's with Bill the Packer fan and Mike the Bear fan. I'm glad that we got this thing covered right there. And Brian Stover says he loves the couch cover. Yeah. You know, sometimes I got to do the show down here in my living room, and that's okay because I like being in a different spot. Just sit right here in front of my couch. And the most important part is you get to see those two beautiful guitars there. And I love to play guitars, and I love to be a performer because that's the career field that I came from to get into this. And actually, when it comes to this, I used to do a lot more touring and a lot more performing in front of people. But, you know, due to the responsibilities that I have now with my autistic child, I have to be here a lot more. So just know that if you support this program, it's like this is another way. I had to find another way to make money and support my family. And this gives me what I'm doing right now, an opportunity to be at home and have a career. And I can get him off the bus here in an hour and a half when he has to come home from school. So we appreciate all the support on this show. And I love talking football. It's Friday, and we got a couple more days. The worst part about being a football fan is you got to wait a whole week in between the games. Don't you agree with that? Come on. Henry Gray says that I'm driving 5.5 hours to see the Lions playing Arizona. I can't wait. I feel like a kid at Christmas. Well, we're going to be looking for you, Henry Gray. If you get any pictures, make sure that you share them with us, because we would love to post some of those onto the site. Going with the Sour Patch Ghost right there. I should get a sponsorship from these guys right there. And I think that would be pretty cool. We got sponsored by Sour Patch Ghost. That's my go-to in the morning. What's your go-to in the morning to wake up? Are you just a water drinker? Or are you like coffee? Are you a coffee? And if you drink your coffee, do you drink your coffee without cream? Do you like to go and pile a bunch of of that delicious cream in there? Or are you just a black coffee drinker and like, yeah, I want to feel the bitterness? Or do you do energy drinks like I do? Because I don't want to do these forever, because I know that they're not that good for you. But that's all good. Paul Jones says he does parlays. Why have fantasy football when you can have a fantasy bank account? Well, I don't technically gamble, Paul. I mean, I guess you call the fantasy football gambling, but I almost look at that like a service, right? I pay to get into my leagues. And in our leagues, the champion wins a trophy. And the last place person also wins a trophy of a different variety. And I like clowning. I'm a clown a little bit. I like to clown when my enemies lose. Broski and I go at each other on win and loss weeks on here for the most part, because he's the guy that likes to come and support his team from the other team. And I enjoy that. I enjoy the little bit of clowning, especially when it comes to fantasy football. you pick your guys and you're playing against each other, and it's like a 17-week game that you could play. So technically it is gambling for me, but I don't like to gamble like against the point spreads, but I do like to pick those. Maybe someday my wife will allow me a little bit of cheese to throw some money down against the point spreads and stuff like that. But, I don't really feel that. I would rather be embarrassed than like betting money. I mean, we've talked about this before, especially with you, broski with the Moski, because it's like money. When you bet money with somebody that has money, they're not losing as much, right? Like there's sometimes when you bet, it's like a lot more of losing. You can lose a lot more when it comes to the money. But when you bet something that's embarrassing, you got to wear a hat that says I'm stupid for, liking the Bears, or I have to wear a hat that says I'm stupid for liking the Lions. That's the type of betting that I like to do, because it puts everybody on an even playing field, because you don't know if you bet against somebody and, they throw $100 down, you throw $100 down, where your bank account might not have as much money as his. If a billionaire drops a $100 bill on the ground, it doesn't do that much to him if he loses. So he can go out and make all these outlandish bets and talk tough and whatever. I'm not really losing anything. So that's why I like to do embarrassment bets over money bets, because you don't know how much money somebody has. They might not be really losing anything for that. Whatever. Some people can wipe their butt with a $100 bill. That's why I don't do it like that. And in our fantasy football, we have two aspects to it. There is the money part of it. The winner can take all the money, right? The winner of the fantasy football league gets to go home with everybody's money. The second place guy gets a little bit. But for the most part, the last place person has to take a trophy up of a different variety. It doesn't have a nice little football guy on the front. It may have a phallic symbol on the top if you win the last place trophy. That's the type of stuff I like to get into when it comes to bet. Henry Gray says folders and a blunt. Okay. You do you. You do you. Like I don't mind that. I actually appreciate that more than, the alcoholic beverages. Don't need nothing to wake up. I get out of bed and I do things. That's what Dwayne says. Yes. I like that. That's the water guy. The water guy, that's probably the most best thing that you can drink. You got to drink water, Dwayne. I know that you drink water eventually. So I like that. I do parlays as well, and black coffee. I'm sweet enough. I like it. I like it, Fred. Yes, black coffee. Let's get that bitterness in there. I'm digging it. Use it as entertainment, not a habit. I like to put 50 cents to $1 on ridiculous parlays that I've always made a few bucks on an early payout. I like that. That's a good strategy right there. Yeah, pot ain't booze. Yeah, I'm not a big booze fan. And you know what? I know that some of my church people might be watching, and you know what? It's like we all live our lives, right? We all have our vices that we struggle with. And honestly, I would get rid of this before I would get rid of pot. That's just my opinion. That's just something I've had for a long time. When it comes to pain management, I like pot better than ibuprofen. I mean, that might be a topic for another day right here. But let's talk about the Green Bay Packers and the Tennessee Titans right here. So Green Bay 1-1. And you know what? I can't deny. I mean, I want to trash on the Green Bay Packers, right? Don't we all want to trash on the Green Bay Packers? I love trashing on the Green Bay Packers, but it just seems like they always find a way to win, even Even without, if you win a game with Malik Willis, I'm sorry. You got to get some props. You got Anthony Richardson going 17 for 34. That's ridiculous. This guy's got to learn how to throw the ball. When you got Jonathan Taylor rushing all over the Green Bay Packers, 12 rushes, 103 yards, 8.6 yards a carry. Against the Colts. So when I look at this, it's like I thought the Tennessee Titans were going to be a good team this year. But after that first game against Chicago, where he just threw the ball, he threw the game away to the Chicago Bears. Even Broski could admit that he was you could probably be easily 0-2 right now. And I guess you could say the same thing for the Lions, Broski. But here's the thing. When we got into overtime, there was no doubt that the Lions were going to win that game when they ran the ball downfield. Like, the Bears stole a victory from the jaws of defeat with the incompetence of Will Levis. And Jair Alexander ain't no joke out there on the edge. And if Will Levis wants to be an NFL quarterback, he's going to have to go through some defenses. And I think the Bears are a very good defense. And obviously right here with the Green Bay Packers, they're going to be living on that defense and that run game in there. And I think that the Green Bay Packers are going to win this game. And especially, I don't even know. Do anybody know if Jordan Love is expected to play? Let's look at that news. If Jordan Love plays, that could even be worse for those guys. So I got the Green Bay Packers maybe winning in this game by a landslide, especially if they can get Love out on the field. And from the reports that I'm looking at right now, one day ago, Packers Love returns to practice, may play on Sunday. On3.com says Jordan Love injury update. Green Bay Packers addresses could be in play for week 1. Packer News says the same thing. He could be in play. So this may have been a scare for them, and they're going to be right back on pace right here. This NFC North is the black and blue division. I have no doubt in my mind. Like I'm not going to say I'm scared of the other teams in the NFC North, but I wouldn't say that they're scared of us either. Really, the Bears defense is just like the last few years, is a couple of offensive players. Like, if Caleb Williams can come in and play average, the Bears could win 10 games. The Bears could win 10 games, 11 games, if Caleb Williams can figure this out. He doesn't have to be Tom Brady in year 1. They got a defense over there in Chicago. And last week, when you're looking at these Green Bay Packers, last week, Anthony Richardson played like a college quarterback. 3 interceptions. What do you think the Bears are going to do to him? So he's got to figure that out. I think the Bears could truck stick this team. Depending on how good the offense plays, I can't see Anthony Richardson doing better against the Bears than he did against the Packers. Jonathan Taylor rushed for 103 yards against the Packers. 103 yards against the Packers. Packers can't stop the run. The Bears can. And the Bears got secondary guys too. They may hold the Indianapolis Colts to under 10 points when I look at that. So you got two teams right here, the Bears and the Packers, that should win their game. And I think the Lions should win their game too. Because I know that the Arizona Cardinals just beat up on the Rams. And it's like you thought that the Lions played a depleted team against the Rams. The Arizona Cardinals played a depleted team. Like, we depleted that team even more. They had like almost no injury guys. They had no Cooper Kupp at the end of the second half. They had no Puka Nacua at all to go in that game. So I'll give some kudos to the Arizona Cardinals for winning the game and taking advantage, in that spot. But I think that the Lions would have blew out the Rams too if they didn't have either one of their wide receivers. They wouldn't have been able to do anything. They threw the ball all to Cooper Kupp, and if Cooper Kupp wasn't out there for the game, the Rams would have done nothing against the Lions. They almost did nothing anyway. 14 catches for 119 yards at 7 yards a play. That's not exactly owning it. Give Cooper Kupp and Stafford credit in that first game for putting it close, but the Lions left a lot of stuff on the field. The Lions need to get that offense together, and not in between the 20s. They had 300 yards of offense in between the 20s. It was that red zone, 1 for 7. But I think they get it together this week. Arizona has a definite weakness stopping the run, and the Lions have a need to run the ball. Like, you don't want to throw the ball 55 times. And I think Arizona is the perfect team to get right on for the Lions to run the football. Don't have Jared Goff passing the ball 50 times. Make him throw the ball, maybe 30 times. And I think that the Lions could win that game. They can win that game, and they might win it going away. Now, the Texans and the Vikings here. I think this is and I've given the Vikings kudos here, and I have to give the Vikings kudos because I don't want this to come across as a troll, because by my own rules, I am not allowed to troll the Minnesota Vikings this week because they won. They beat the San Francisco 49ers, and that was a game that nobody thought that they were going to win, and now they sit at the top of the division right now. The Minnesota Vikings, all by themselves, a game ahead of every team in the NFC North, and you deserve your flowers. But let this be a compliment to the Texans. I don't think that you can beat the Texans. I don't think you're going to beat the Texans. And I'll say this. I will come on here and eat the crow on Monday for the Vikings if you can knock off the 49ers and the Texans back-to-back weeks. You have to be considered a real threat. Now, right now, you can look at all this. Oh, well, you only beat the Giants. Oh, well, you know Christian McCaffrey. Oh, I got excuses on. It doesn't matter. You got to play the team that's in front of you. And right now, the Vikings are 2-0, and they got to go play a tough Texans team. The Bears found out. They're gonna pressure. They're gonna come after you. They play good, sound defense. They cover their wide receivers well. I mean, the Texans are coming. I mean, if you think of where the Texans came from, they didn't come out of nowhere. After they fleeced the Browns for that Deshaun Watson, getting 3 number 1 draft picks and picking twice in the first round for 3 years. I mean, it's no wonder that their team is loaded with young talent. And I think that Minnesota has got these glass slippers on, and midnight's going to strike, and they're going to come back down to earth against that Texans team. And that is not a troll. That is not a troll on the Vikings. That is a attaboy. Pat them on the back right there. Pat those Texans on the back. They had a lot of hype going into the season, and now there they are. There they are, the Texans. The Houston Texans, the best team in Texas, blow away the Cowboys. The Cowboys are on the way out. The Texans are on the way in. What do you think about that statement? So there's a little bit. Let's see what we got in here. I don't know if I got a Sarah in here yet. Elise Meme says that she does do fantasy football. Okay. I lose my money on the old-fashioned way, marijuana and parlay bets. Oh, God. Love the cow. Okay, I got to make sure to get here. I do parlays as well, black coffee. Okay, I got to make sure the church people are watching. Hey, the church people are watching, and that's okay. You know, I'm not going to – I ain't here to judge nobody. And I don't profess my faith out there to try to, you know, make anybody feel convicted or any other kind of way. You live your life. And the vices that you decide to attack and go after, you can go after that. If somebody wants to check me on the fact that I say I smoke a little bit of marijuana, that's fine. You know, I mean, I hope that you're checking all the people that drink booze too. I don't let it affect my life in a way where I'm not productive. I still hit all of my responsibilities. That is just the way that I choose to relax. And there's a gray area like that. I mean, people could say there's not a gray area with that, but you know, they're not. It doesn't specifically say anywhere in the Bible that I'm not supposed to smoke marijuana. You know, they don't. It's not. There's not a verse in there that says. Now there are verses that can say, you know, we're staying away from vices and staying away from things that are illegal in the society. But that's neither here nor there. If somebody wants to check me on it, feel free to message me. I would love to have a conversation about it too. So, and I don't want to turn it into something like versus church people, because not all church people give a crap about it. You know, I think the correct church people go out there and say, hey, like read the Bible and let God's word make you better. You know, let those lessons that are in the Bible, apply them to your life. The stories that happen in the Old Testament and New Testament, apply those things to your life and your quality of life will go up. I mean, that's the gist of it to me. Like, I don't go to church to, yeah, I have it down now. Now I'm Christian. It's not the way that it works for me. Let's see. I can dump brown fudge backers when we've lost the last 10 games in a row. Yeah, that's the thing. No, Russ, don't go there. There were more than one play that determined that game. Levis had 3 turnovers in that game. That's a weak take on your part. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Like, I don't want to take anything away from the thing. I think that your defense is awesome. And Levis, that play, come on, dude. I mean, there was way more plays than that. The Chicago Bears defense is suffocating. And they were able to control all of the parts of that game. And you were able, and here to your point, it was the defensive line and the pass rush that forced him to make that fast throw. They were able to get at Will Levis all day long. But to my point, I wasn't trying to take away from the thing. And if I did that, I apologize. What I was trying to say is Will Levis is not good. And he wasn't good the second week. That wasn't in your game. So I apologize for that. Russ, it's called football. You can never say the other team gave it away. This isn't Hands Across America. Yeah, well, he gave you that was a very bad pass that like quarterbacks that are in the NFL shouldn't make. So at the very least, I got to say that wasn't an NFL throw or an NFL decision. Like 31 other quarterbacks probably would have just taken that sack because you were winning. You didn't have to make a play like that. So It is called football. I don't want to take the victory away from you because your defense won that game. That is a phase that if you dominate that part of the game, then you win the game, right? You want to win all three phases. So, like, sorry for weak takes. I'm not trying to put a weak take in there. I was trying to bring a point to the Bears defense is carrying the team right now, and that Caleb Williams doesn't have to be the greatest quarterback in the world. That was my main point, was the defense was playing good. So is it better if I say your defense was way more opportunistic? Because that was the biggest play of the game that I brought up right there. It's not the reason that they lose the game. I mean, when you look at the Lions game, I mean, people can overreact and say the defense sucks, but no, I don't think you can. Not if you watch the whole game. You watch a team that is able to move the ball. I mean, I was at the game with the Lions on Sunday, and it was exciting in between. I mean, you felt really, really good. They're driving the ball. They drove the ball almost on every series. They moved the ball. They got first downs. But when you go 1 for 7 in the red zone, I mean, that's the tail of the tape. You got to be able to score in the red zone. What do you do? What you do in your house doesn't affect my house. So take up, brother. Okay. Right there. Preach, Russell, preach. I probably lost all of the people because I started preaching. I'm not trying to preach on here. I'm not trying to preach on here. We are all sinners. Judge not before you fool yourself. That is the truth. That is the truth. The actual judgment part is a sin. You know, we're not here to judge other people. The Bible wasn't put there for me to go, you. No, the Bible is put there for me to go, me. You know, it's me I'm the one that's got to be saved from sinning. And I can't change anybody else. No matter what, you know, you can want your friends to change. You might be doing all this stuff and whiskey and women and all these other bad things until that person makes a decision to change their life. Then it doesn't matter how much you preach to them. You can preach to them. You know, to me, when somebody asks me for help, when it comes with, you know, advice like that, then I'll give it to them. If they don't allow me permission in there, I ain't going to go after anybody for their sins. I got my own list. So that's good stuff, guys. But this is the Lion Villain Report. Oh, wrong one. This is the Lion Villain Report. You can join me every morning at 10 a.m. And we're out here talking football. We're out here talking football every single day. We're live inside the Lion Villain Squad Facebook page. We got over 53,000 people there, approaching 54,000 people. So please go like, follow, share, subscribe to the page, subscribe to the YouTube channel. So you can be like Pete the Unaliver right there. Pete the Unaliver says, hey, I took care of that thing for you. And when you go ahead and you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you'll be taking care of that thing for me, and we appreciate that. Detroit Lions News. Thank you to Detroit Lions News. And if you're giving stars, if that's your thing, a week ago, we didn't really even know how to use stars, but I decided that my wife's page, she's an advocate for autism awareness. Use that QR code right there if you have a child with special needs, and she's always putting good nuggets on there for people to have advice to, you know, things that you can do with your child with special needs. And she does a great job on that. So all the stars, 100% is going to go to helping her page, help her to go out and keep doing what she's doing. And I'm so proud of her, and I love you. I love you, babe. Faith, family, then football. That's what we got in here a little bit. We got into a little bit of faith today. Hope that doesn't turn anybody off right there. I don't get into any hardcore preaching on here or anything, but, you know, faith, family, and then football. We believe in family. We believe in faith. We believe in using the football to create memories, and we don't let football use us. So there we go. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. Ben needs to step it up. Ben needs to step it up. That's one of those things. That's why he got the picture. That's why he got to go on the cover. He got to go onto the cover of the fantasy football because his play calling in there, I mean, we can overmanage. I listened to him speak yesterday when he spoke to the media, and he had said some things, and it's like it kind of echoed what I was talking about earlier. I think that, we need to run the ball more. Running's what made it successful. But when we got down to the red zone, he actually broke down which plays that we ran. Like they ran 7 run plays in the red zone. 5 of the plays were either no gain or a loss on the play. And when you get into those 3rd and 7s, you're not in a position to run the ball again. If they're stopping your run. We weren't getting the blocking up front. They weren't opening up the holes, and they were stopping us from running the ball in the red zone. And I think that 55 passes is a skewed number. And it's like, oh, you just can't win by throwing 55 passes. It's like they lost by like 4 points, guys, with 2 chances to win in the red zone at the end of the game. I mean, that sounds to me like you were 1 play away from actually winning the game, throwing 55 passes. So for us to just dismiss it and just say, okay, well, you can't pass that ball that much and win, that's a little bit off. I'm not going to subscribe to that. I think that you got to execute the plays that are out there. So I'm not giving Ben a pass. I mean, he needs to figure out what the balance of the team is. You got all these different playmakers, and you can't make every single player happy. You're not going to have 10-plus targets for Laporta, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Jameson Williams, and 5-6 passes to Gibbs out of the backfield. And how are we going to get Tim Patrick involved? Like, somebody's not going to eat every week. You got to figure out which matchups are the death-defying matchups, and which matchups are the ones that are going to benefit your team the most. And every week, somebody that's got a big, huge name isn't going to eat. There's only 1 ball. And we got 6 playmakers. Now, this is a problem that a lot of other teams have too. Oh, we need a number 2 receiver. Oh, we need a number 3 receiver. Well, how much is that really helping us right now? You got to take your playmakers that you have, and you have to put people into a trick box with them. However you can get them into that trick box. Oh, if you defend Jameson, we're gonna eat the middle. If you defend the middle, we're gonna let Jameson eat. Like, we need to find where that balance is, and that's where Ben can make the most improvements. He's got to be able to identify that. Who needs to step up? Ben needs to find out who that player is. That's his job, is to find out who needs to step up. And the person that needs to step up is the one with the best matchup. Like, if you can get Laporta out there on a DB or linebacker out in the space, that's the matchup. If you got Jameson 1 on the outside, that's the guy that needs to step up. Whoever gets the one-on-one match needs to step up. And that could be any player. That could be any player on the team. It's not like Laporta's out there not doing his job, and that's why he's not getting the ball, right? Last week, it was Amon-Ra St. Brown. they weren't necessarily double teaming him, but they were making moves and zoning in the middle of that defense. They were making it to where Jared Goff had to throw to the perimeters. And that's his weakest point. And that's what you got to do as a defense. A smart defense will do that. Tampa Bay has a very good, they were number 3 in the league last year in red zone defense. It's not a big surprise that the Lions struggled in the red zone and they were able to move the ball between the 20s. It's not an excuse, but that just is what it is. So as far as like one person needing to step up, I think that's just a lazy argument. If you're going to pick a person and say, well, this guy needs to do it. Oh, this guy needs to do it. Oh, well, Gibbs averaged 6.5 yards a carry. Why didn't they just give him the ball more? They did. They did. And his big runs that made that average go way up were in between the 20s. And when they got into the red zone, like I said, Ben Johnson was talking about it. You get into the red zone, they ran the ball 7 times within the red zone. One of them was a 7-yard gain. That was a positive play. And the other one was the 1-yard touchdown run. Those were the 2 positive plays. The other plays were stopped behind the line of scrimmage or for no gain. Small gains. So that's why they didn't run the ball. That's why there was more passes, because they got put into more 2nd and long and 3rd and long situations. It's not an excuse. It's just where the script went. The game script, your plans go out the window, and they were not getting good run blocking in the middle of the defense. If they would have gotten to the red zone and they were able to get 6-7 yards on first down like they usually do, it's that takes you off of your game plan. Now that doesn't mean that you're going to lose all of those games that he throws the ball 40-50 times. It just means that that's not where your strength is. And if somebody plays you to something that's not your strength, you got to figure out other ways to win. The Lions can win the game throwing the football. They can. They've proven it. They can win the game if Jared Goff throws the ball 40 or 50 times. They've proven it. But the game works better when they get to play their kind of football, which is running the football, setting up the pass with the play action, and that puts Goff in his best spot. And when Goff is in his best spot, he's damn near unstoppable. But good teams are going to take away your best stuff. And that's what happened with Tampa Bay. I don't think Arizona can do the same thing. I don't think they have the horses up front to handle what we have up front. Now, Tampa Bay, on the other hand, they have a deep defensive line. Todd Bowles knows how to coach defensive tackles. And they're going to go after you whether they have Vita Vea out there or not. They don't just have Vita Vea. They got 5-6 guys that can all play in the middle of that defense. I mean, let's not undersell, the strength of that Tampa Bay team, right? Right? I mean, that Tampa Bay team has been living off of their defense. That's what Todd Bowles is. Todd Bowles has won a Super Bowl. You got guys that were playing very well. Vita Vea, he played 39 snaps in that game and killed it. Had a pass rush. He was going after Jared Goff in that game. And even when he came out of that game, Golston had a good game. CJ Brewer had a good game. Anthony Nelson had a good game. And these are all their defensive linemen that you may not know about, but these are the guys that step in. Not everybody on the line that plays against the Lions knows who Levi Onwuzurike is, but that doesn't mean he's not going to affect the game. So that's what I'll say about Ben needs to get it up this week. Get it up. Step it up this week. Sorry. Oh, it's Friday, TGI Friday. And I'm here by myself. Chuck, Charles, the Muskegon posse in the house. But, he's not using Laporta anymore. What happened to Laporta? Laporta, they've been scheming against the middle of our defense. And they've been forcing Goff to throw to the perimeters, which is not necessarily the bad thing in the world. And they also said that Laporta was nursing an injury ever since training camp. He was behind a little bit on the installs. So I think that might have a little bit to do with that. But I think he'll be up to speed here sooner rather than later because he's still, a 80% Laporta is better than most people's number one. So, I mean, I think he's been going out there playing on a little bit of the injury. But I wouldn't say there's anything that really happened to him other than we really have mouths to feed now. We got a lot of playmakers, and they're going in other directions. Have a great weekend, Villain. Faith, Family, and Football Chapter 3 will be written on Sunday. Let's go Lions. Thank you, David, for coming on to the show. Fred Peterson says we need to get back to who we are offensively. Then we need to run the ball first. Play action. The play action does not work unless the run is working. We are not a high-flying, pass-heavy offense. I would agree with that. But I think that we can be a high-flying, pass-heavy offense. That's the difference between our team and other teams. And like I said, we lost that last game, so you immediately go, well, the passing didn't work. Okay. Well, if you weren't 1 for 7 in the red zone, we would be talking about a win and how the passing worked. So it's very, very close. There's a very fine line between winning and losing in the NFL. And we were 1 or 2 plays away from talking about that game as a win with him throwing 55 passes and we'd still be talking about, hey, that's too many passes. We need to get back to who we are. We would still be talking about that, Fred, even if we were 2-0 right now, squeaking out a win. Good defenses are going to take us out of our game. So we aren't a high-flying, pass-heavy offense, but when teams force us to do that, we need to be able to do that. And Tampa Bay was successful at defending that part of our team. It's a team effort. We have lost, and we have to trust and play with each other and have each other's back. Need the chemistry back. They need to fix it and play together. Corey says, my concern is Murray running all over the place. We got to bottle him up. And we do got to bottle him up. Aaron Glenn spoke on this yesterday, Corey, and he was talking about that. He really went after the people that talked about QB spies. And he really preached against just being QB spies actually take a defender off of your field, and it opens up other things. And Kyler Murray knows how to take care of people that put QB spies on him. I mean, these last 2 teams decided to do QB spies on him. He's eating them up. You can't spy this guy. You have to play disciplined defense, make sure you stay in your gap. You don't do too much. And they do bottle him up. I mean, and if we want to go out there and we want to say that Baker Mayfield torched us with 35 yards of rushing, he had 1 good series against us that he scored on. 7 of the points came off of a 1 good drive that Baker had running the football, and he also had some other help on that play too, or on that series. But the thing that can't be lost is the Lions were good at stopping him outside of that drive. Baker Mayfield didn't run anywhere on that drive when it came down to it. So I think that the running quarterbacks, that comes with discipline. That comes with cornerbacks that don't turn their back when they're defending, and understanding that you have a quarterback that can run. They have to play better on that. But I don't think a QB spy is the answer. I don't think that it is, because it does. Because if you're dedicating a defender just to watch the quarterback, I think that you're losing. You're losing one of the personnel that's out there. Everybody's defensive zones got to get bigger when you put a spy out there, and that can actually lead to more problems than it does help. Yeah, you might be able to stop the quarterback on one of the 9 rushes that he's going to have in the game, but throughout the game, he's going to have more of a chance to make plays to other players with the QB spy. So I don't agree with QB spying either. So, I mean, you just got to play more disciplined football. When it comes to the run game, like Dwayne was talking about, Frank Ragnow's got to do better. You want to run up the middle, Frank Ragnow's got to have a better run blocking grade, than in the 30s, or a better defense or offensive line grade than in the 30s. I know at PFF isn't the end all be all, but he was obviously struggling out there against these guys. He knows it. It's like, I want Goff to be better. Goff needs to play better under pressure, but there's other things that can help him play better. Broski Bear, this is a good point right here. Broski is feeling the effect of another wide receiver stepping up, I think. Only so much to go around. I agree with that. That is, who do you want to have I love Sam Laporta. Sam Laporta is an awesome safety valve, and when Jameson Williams becomes that guy that they're going to have to dedicate people to, and they will have to. Their teams aren't going to survive out there going one-on-one with Jameson Williams. He's already proven that. Goff missed him a couple times in that last thing due to pressure in that game. But Jameson Williams' route running is outstanding at this point, and they need to find ways to get him the ball in space, because guys, that Jameson Williams can make you miss in a phone booth. If that's too old school right there, they used to have these things that had telephones in them that we used to go in and you could call phone. As a matter of fact, Superman used to change into a superhero in the phone booth. So phone booth, that's like one of those old school things, right? It's kind of like the catapult and, swords, medieval times. But we're in that. But Laporta is feeling that effect. I think it does have a little bit to do with the injury. He has been nursing an injury, but for the most part, there's one ball. That's the point that Broski's trying to make here. It's one ball. You got to figure out ways to get your playmakers involved. And they got to get Jameson involved in this, into the opposing team's game planning. When you have to do something, like when they stop the middle of the field again, the next time that happens, Jameson needs to have 200 yards receiving when they plug up the middle of the field like they did in the Rams, and they've been playing the middle of the field pretty well. I mean, even though Amon-Ra had 11 catches and over 100 yards, he's not averaging a lot. Like, if you can get Amon-Ra where he isn't eating like he is, when you're averaging, 10 or less per play, that's not great for a wide receiver. Wide receivers are supposed to be stretching. You need that average to be way up. So Jameson has to take advantage of when they're clogging up that middle. Big plays need to be happening. We need to make them pay every time they clog up the middle and stop Laporta. That's what they need to do. That's where Ben Johnson needs to figure that out. Anytime you got new personnel, it takes a minute to get these guys to gel. I think that's what you're seeing at the cornerback position. They keep on trying Terrion Arnold. I know that Chris Godwin had a good game. He had a long touchdown, but outside of that touchdown that he had, they keep trying Terrion Arnold. And he is doing a great job at tackling, making sure, and he needs to be less handsy. But I'm thinking that this DB room, the Lions DB room, is going to take some strides here because everything else is fine on the team. We got great linebacker play. The defensive line's been getting pressures and right in there. And the safety plays with Branch and Kirby has been awesome. It's been awesome. It's the cornerback plays. They're almost there. They got to get them. I mean, that's the newest part of our team. When you look at the whole defense, you returned everybody on the defensive line other than, you bring in DJ Reader, but Levi was here. Pascal was here. And you bring in a couple people right there. And then, like in the linebacker core, there was no change. Those guys have been here. The Jack Campbell, Anzalone, Barnes, Malcolm Rodriguez, all of those guys were drafted, in the first couple seasons with Brad Holmes. And I'm a big believer in Brad Holmes. The free agency stuff, I like the stuff that they can bring in, They usually get injury-riddled guys, but Brad Holmes, as far as a drafter goes, the core of the team, I'm not worried about. I ain't worried about those linebackers. I'm not worried about Kirby Joseph going into his third year because we're developing these players, and they've proven they can develop them. It's Carlton Davis and Terrion Arnold that got to get juiced in to this defense, and I think that they can be a really, really higher echelon defense once they get that together, because these guys obviously have more talent. Carlton Davis and Terrion Arnold obviously have more talent than Will Harris and Jerry Jacobs and Kendall Vildor. I mean, this all rolls into a fantasy football effect on the NFL. Lots of stat boys think that your stats dictate how good a player you are. It's just simply not true. Yeah, you can't even really tell. Like, it isn't just that, broski. It's like, look at how you could tell the people that look at only the highlights of a game. Because when people look at only the highlights of the game, they soon different. Even if they watch the game in the ebb and flow, the highlights destroy. Like you look at that game with Baker Mayfield, and he had that one brilliant drive where he did run the ball well. And all of a sudden, people look at that one drive and say, oh, my God, he owned the Lions. And it's like, he didn't own the Lions. I'm like, that's crazy to think that he owned the Lions. He threw for like 185 yards. He rushed for 35 yards. But the highlights put us into this spot where we only see that highlight. We don't see the 3 and outs that happen for, like, when Detroit had the ball, they went 3 and out. Then they punt that ball, they give it to Tampa Bay, they go 3 and out. And then they give it back to Detroit. Detroit gets one first down and then goes three and out after that. And then they punt the ball back to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and then Baker goes down. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, they stopped him. They sacked him 5 times. They were able to contain Baker, but all you see is the highlight, right? And then the highlight shows Jahmyr Gibbs doing this awesome run, right? Where he broke out and he rushed for like 30 yards and he got out there, and all of a sudden you're going, well, why didn't you run the ball the whole time? We did. We ran the ball. And on most of the first 2 downs, we were stopped behind the line of scrimmage. Well, Jahmyr Gibbs, he had 5 yards to carry. Why didn't they run the ball more? Well, because you only looked at the highlights. That's what happened, is you only looked at the highlights, and you look at Jahmyr Gibbs, he had 84 yards rushing. He averaged 6.5 yards a carry, right? When you look at that from the outside, you go, oh my gosh, why didn't you run the football? And then you look at David Montgomery, 3.2 yards a carry on 11 carries, right? That's not good enough when you look at that. But when you look at the 6.5, you go, oh my God. Well, out of the 84 yards, he had 2 of those plays. One of them went over 20 yards. One of them was over 10 yards. So there's 40 yards of the production. And on the other 11 carries, it was 11 carries for 40 yards. He got a couple of breakout deals, and the rest of the time, Tampa Bay was stopping the run. So we got to be careful not to go from the highlights and say, this is what happened in the game, because it doesn't tell the whole story. And like Broski says, the stats, it all rose into the fantasy football effect. Like, you're looking at these guys, oh my gosh, Amon-Ra killed it. He had 112 yards. Like, that's great for your fantasy football team. I have him on my team. I like that. But he didn't affect the game in the way that he usually does. He wasn't third down, St. Brown, like maybe in between the 20s he was pulling that off. But he wasn't getting home and doing that on the other plays. So, what up, Corey Patterson? See, Corey is my Lion pessimist, and Broski is my Bear fan in here. And both these guys are pretty equally hard on the Lions, and there's no problem with that, because I don't want to be out here just homering up. Actually, Corey has kept me in my P's and Q's right, because I try to be in the middle here. I am a Homer Lions fan, but I also try to be realistic to what's actually happening out there. And I haven't seen anything to actually make me freak out about this team yet. But you got to have your best players playing the best. And when I look at that last game, I know that Jared Goff got the bulk of the flack for it, and he deserves his end of the flack. Don't get me wrong here. I mean, Jared Goff, let's look at Jared Goff's PFF stats right here. It's not pretty. It's not pretty. You're looking at Jared Goff PFF stat down at the bottom right there. Jared Goff. As at 49.1, 49, that's not good. But other things that you got to look at is, Frank Ragnow with a 54 overall grade, 33 at pass blocking. 33. That is somebody that is allowing way too much pressure into the middle. And look at this other guy here, Graham Glasgow. Pass blocking, 39.3. That's the middle of your offensive line right there, guys. That's the middle of the offensive line that was protecting Goff. 39.3 for Glasgow and 43 for Frank Ragnow. Did I say that right? 43? No. 33. 33 pass blocking for Frank Ragnow. 39 for Glasgow. That's somebody that is allowing a lot of middle pressure. Now, here's something, another telling stat was Jahmyr Gibbs at pass blocking was even worse than that. So let's look at this. Pass block. Who's the worst one? Jahmyr Gibbs, 17.2. That's your last line of defense. So when Jared Goff drops back the pass and the game isn't going to Jahmyr Gibbs, he's got to be able to be the last line of defense for Jared Goff. And Jared Goff was getting pressure up the middle all day long. Now, you still got to play better under pressure, Goff. I am not excusing you. from all of your responsibilities, but it is a team game. And if I'm going to point out how bad Jared Goff was, I need to point out how bad the pass blocking was too. And Jahmyr Gibbs at a 17.2, Frank Ragnow at 33.7, Graham Glasgow at 39.3. That is not good. Even Penei Sewell at a 65. Penei Sewell usually pass blocks in the 90s, in the 80s. Like, that is an awful game in comparison to what he usually is. Now, you could look at Penei Sewell's stats and say 69.9. That's not a bad overall grade. What are you talking about? For Penei Sewell, for the guy that is the anchor right tackle for the, for the franchise, that's not good for him. He usually has the high end one. So it was a bad game out of the offensive line, right? If we're supposed to be the best offensive line in the league, you can't put that all on Jared Goff, especially when he threw for 300 in between the 20s. Jared Goff, you got to get good in the red zone right there. You got to play better in the red zone. You can't just chuck the ball up when you get that middle pressure. Handle the pressure a little bit better. Corey Patterson says, I love this team. I'm just the type that tells it how I see it. And I don't mind that. Thank you for keeping me level like this, because it's a long season. If I get too high on this team, I'm going to be in there and let's say the Lions go 4-4 and they're sitting there and they're fighting, they're fighting in the middle. It's going to be hard for me unless we figure out, how to temper these expectations, or the guys just start playing the way that they were. But here's the silver lining, Corey. Let me read this. Let me read your comment first. Yes, I feel that our fan base, that we are too arrogant. I mean, that we are pumped for your team, but sometimes automatically assume that we would take the North and hated the Super Bowl talk. I don't think that that's our fans, Corey. I think that was more of the national media jumping on, and then fans just kind of believing what the media said. I think, I do this show every day. I think our fans are way pessimistic. I mean, if you watch the way they destroyed Goff and destroyed this whole team all week, like, everything's wrong and what are we going to do? And it's like, there's nothing that in that game that made me feel like we're losing control. I mean, we lost a good game. There comes a point, like, if I wanted to be really, really critical, Corey, if I wanted to be really, really critical, it would be off Dan Campbell, because he was the only one that made an unforced error to where he actually took points off the board at the end of the first half by making a mistake that had nothing to do with preparation. He just made a boo-boo. The special teams coordinator made a boo-boo, and it cost him points. If I'm going to freak out about anything, I'm going to freak out about that, and not the fact that Tampa Bay played a good game up front and forced Goff to do the things that he's not as good at. They stopped the run, which is more of a testament to how good the defense played. Now, you want to see your guys go in there, but if our offensive line was the worst part of the game, I actually feel okay. I feel okay about that. And Broski says, Corey, but I agree. Lions fans were the happiest fan bases I've ever seen going into the season. They were convincing themselves that the Lions had a chance to go undefeated in the cakewalk. Broski, you're talking about the most extreme fans. And Corey, you are too. You're talking about the most extreme fans that are out there. Some people are just like on my fan page, the Lions Villain Squad fan page, we put stuff out there all the time that's just kind of, I like to call them the rah-rah. The rah-rah, stuff, hey, let's go Lions. We're going to win. We're going to kick butt. Like pictures of us, as Lions winning the game. That's not us saying we're the greatest in the world. That's what every fan base does. Just like if you go to any Bear fan page on the internet, you're going to have posts that say, oh, wow, Caleb Williams is going to tear it up this weekend. Oh, he's going to get right. That's not overconfidence. And the Lions should be confident going into this year as a fan base because they went to the NFC Championship and their team got better. There's nothing wrong with having optimism. But when you chase people down that are optimistic and just call them Homer fans because they're happy about the team, I don't like that either. The team's 1-1, and there's no reason to be too high or too low on this team. Russ, I'm not. I'm talking about chat rooms full of Lions fans on numerous channels. Most Lions hosts still act like that too. Most Lions hosts, no, I don't think so. Most Lions hosts, I just watched Crunch Time, and all these guys do is shit on everything that the Lions did in this loss. I think Lion fans overreact to everything. Now, I'm not saying you're half right on this. You're half right on this because Lions are way too high when they win. That's why I call Monday Overreaction Monday. And it's Overreaction Monday, win or lose for the Lions. I call it that because it is. It is what it is. Overreaction Monday comes. If they lose, oh my God, fire everybody. Oh my gosh, what's wrong? Everything's wrong. Oh, they need to replace everybody. We need to go to free agency. We need to go trade for this player. Oh my God, what are we going to do? Everything's the worst in the world. That's what the fans have been like this week. Now, I think I have a good group of people here that watch this program. I think that the people that watch this program actually have a level head for the most part. I don't think there's too many people on here, but there are eccentric Lion fans that pick 17-0. Just like I saw so many 15-2 Caleb Williams posts that he was going to take over everybody and kill everybody. The Bear fans are way more fanatic than the Lion fans are. I mean, at least the Lions had a reason. Yeah, we've never been good. Okay, so Lion fans are going to get excited when we've had 2 winning seasons in a row for the first time in, I don't know, ever. So, yeah, it's okay. Let's see. Corey says, I will say this, broski. I've seen that you on multiple channels and you always said it like, I think 7 to 8 wins, which is realistic. Yeah. Broski is the realistic Bear fan that's in there. And that's where the realistic fan, most people are at. I have the Lions winning 12 games. I am not changing that. I am not changing that now. I'm not overreacting over one loss. They're 1-1. I believe that the Lions will be 12-5. I don't know if that's going to be good enough to win the division yet. I don't know if somebody else can come in and win 13. But I feel pretty confident that the Lions can win the division still. I still think they're the best team in the division still, regardless. And you can call me a homer for that. But I watched the game too. And to me, when your best players are the ones that struggled, that should be a good sign. Because I don't think that Frank Ragnow is all of a sudden going to fall off. Now, I don't know about Graham Glasgow, but I definitely think the offensive line can bounce back this week. And 8 to 10 wins with my prediction for the Bears. And for every other team in the NFL, NFC North watch. Yeah, you think they're all going to be at 8 to 10 wins. Okay, that's cool. So not us. I mean, let me ask you this, Broski. Do you think me saying 12 wins for the Lions after the season they had and the additions that they made, do you think that's a homer take? Because I have seen some Lion fans. I had people on my show that predicted 14 wins for the Lions. I had a couple 13 wins. I think Mike predicted 13 wins. Yeah, okay. Okay. Yeah, I was going for 11-6 final record. But that's not homer. If I say 12-5, that's not homer if I pick one more than you, right? Okay, that's cool. I don't agree with you. I don't think I'm being homeristic at all to think that the Lions team could duplicate. Like I could argue that the team would be better after the additions that they've made and the improvements that they've made. And I didn't go better. I kept it at 12-5. I thought about 13. Slightly homer. Okay. I'll agree with slightly homer. But this is the best season that the Lions have ever had in the Super Bowl era. So it's okay. No, not at all, Russ. I'm saying that you're being a homer. We could possibly, I'm not saying you're being a homer. We could possibly go 12-5. And the Tampa Bay game doesn't change that for me. That's what I'm talking about with Lion fan. Like, this is where I want to help Lion fan here. It's like every team in the NFL is good. Arizona was widely considered the worst team in football. And I don't think, they might be the worst team in football, but the worst team and the best team are not as far apart as what I believe people think that it is. And there's so much parity in the NFL. Like we do too much talking about how much injuries, like the injuries shouldn't derail your team. If you have a good deep team, your next man up should be good. If your next man up isn't good, you're not going to win. You have to have a packed roster full of guys that can ball. So I'm getting some love on here. No, not with this schedule. I think 12 is definitely obtainable. Like, I don't think I'm being a homer in that. Maybe slightly, but I don't think any Lion fan would call me a homer. And that's because there are real Lion homer fans that did predict 15 wins. I don't know how many serious people really predicted undefeated. I did make a statement that said that we should be favored in every game. And I wouldn't pick against the Lions probably in any game this year. But that doesn't mean I think they're going to go undefeated. That just means that, I think they should win every game. When you get into the team, you should win. You should be able to win. You should have an opportunity to win. And in years past, you could look at a Lions schedule and I remember doing this. You look at a Lions schedule and I'll go, okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, there's 4 losses that are on there. Now let's start doing our predictions. And then you do your prediction. There's 5 losses, 6 losses. I'm going to say we'll lose there. Okay, I think we're going to go 9-8. Like, that was how we used to pick games. This year, when I picked all the games, I looked at all the games and I didn't see any guaranteed losses on there. And that's a weird thing for a Lion fan where you're like, okay, I think we could win all these games. We're not going to win all of these games, but I'm not looking at guaranteed losses on there. I don't think that there's a guaranteed loss in San Francisco. You know what I mean? There's a difference between like saying you're going to go undefeated and thinking that you're good enough to win every game. There's a difference there. But I hope that you guys liked today's program. This is the Lion Villain Report. I hope that you liked my new theme music because I'm sick of Canva dinging me for copyright on a song that I paid for. So I'm not going there anymore. And they do take it off every single time. Like, that's what I want to say. This is why it's annoying. I'm right. And they ding me with the copyright thing every day. So every day this season, I'd been going in, I'd been re-editing the program afterwards, taking the intro out, and then reposting it back up. Or I can dispute it, and I would dispute it, and then I would win. And I'm undefeated in disputing this because I bought the license for the damn song. I'm sick of playing the game. I'm sick, and I like the Opportunity song, but that Opportunity song does not make this show. It's a nice little thing to go over top. But I wanted to prove to everybody that I don't need the fancy intro in there. I can just go with Beavis and Butthead as my intro and my outro. But this is the Lion Villain Report. We should see what Christopher Walken says about it. This is a Lions. It's a villain report. You can watch it. It'll be at 10 a.m. in the mornings. You should watch it because it would be good for you. It'd be good for your football mind. It reminds me of a story of this guy. He loved to talk football. And then he had a show. It was at 10 a.m. It's in the morning. It's good for you. It's good for you. It's good for your life. Let me tell you something, Mean Gene. With me and all my Hulk maniacs out there in Dan Campbell Mania, we're going to go out to Arizona, brother. We're going to run the football. What you gonna do, Arizona, when the Lions run wild on you? Even on and the planet on hey. Ooh, yeah, the Macho Man's gonna be climbing to the top rope, brother. And we're gonna drop that Macho Man Detroit Lions elbow right into the heart of the Aerosmith Cardinals. Yeah, good. Ooh, yeah. This show is brought to you by NFL Shop, our affiliate marketing partners. Use that QR code and get yourself one of them fancy Jahmyr Gibbs black jerseys right there. But most importantly, join the conversation. That means you put a like on the post. If you see a post on the Lions Villain Squad Facebook page, go on there and join that conversation. Argue with somebody. That's all good. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Get it done. Go out there. Support my wife's page with stars. She's an advocate for autism awareness. My son is autistic. I'm going to be getting him off the bus here in about 10 minutes. And she is sharing resources for parents that have children with autism. So just know that your stars donations on this page go to support my wife's autism page. It's faith, family, and then football. We use football to create memories, spend time with our family. We don't let football use us. And thank you for joining the program today. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. And may the Lord shine his face upon you until we meet again tomorrow, our Saturday show, Lion Villain Report. God bless. Dun, 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 dun. But dun, 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 dun. But dun, 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 dun.